From South Carolina Public Radio, this is the South Carolina Lede. I'm your host, Gavin Jackson, and this episode was recorded on May 1st, 2026 from South Carolina Public Radio studios here in Columbia. May the 1st be with you. Get ready, guys. The whole month of that. On this episode of The Lede, we look at what happened in the third to last week of the legislative session, and we saw some big bills move, including the Senate-approved SCDOT modernization bill. Will a U.S. Supreme Court decision on Louisiana's congressional maps lead to mid-cycle redistricting here? Probably not.
Oh.
But we hear from Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey and House Speaker Murrell Smith.
Wow.
We got both of them on the final 6 legislative days of session. And we also talk about who got to see the king and queen.
What's that you say?
It's a right treat, isn't it?
You having a laugh?
Anyway,
back into my normal voice.
We got 2 more weeks of The Gavel, folks, and you can check it out at scetv.org/thegavel, where Tuesday through Friday, my own Schechter and myself bring you recaps, previews, big and small status moments, meeting schedules, highlights, photos, videos, and more. I'll be incorporating some of that into today's pod as well. We want to incorporate you into today's pod.
What's that you say?
And not in a weird way, just your call. You can do that, 803-563-7169. We will be announcing some debates soon. Let us know your questions. Let us know your thoughts. 803-563-7169. It's May. All right, let's start with the roads bill. Yeah, I feel like I'm back in 2017, so vintage like our roads,
Which are improving.
I want to point that out really quick because SCDOT says since that gas tax increase that started getting phased in back in 2017 through 2022, some 1,300 miles of rural roads have been improved, 10,400 miles of roads have been paved, 471 bridges have been upgraded or replaced, and there's also been more than 100 interstate roads upgraded as well. That's a lot past 10 years, folks. Now, that bill was just the start of stabilizing the system of 3 decades of deferred maintenance due to people complaining but not actually boosting funding necessary to fix the roads. Now we're talking about this bill, S831, which will modernize operations, target congestion with choice lanes, and speed up infrastructure construction and permitting. There's no gas tax increase here. I mean, gas is already high enough, folks, am I right? And there is no increase for EV owners. So all of our electric vehicle drivers continue to enjoy your below the regional average registration fees you pay every 2 years, while your heavy vehicles contribute to road wear and you pay far less than the average gas driver does to maintain our infrastructure. No big deal. No big deal, because you're part of the solution. I get it. No, I get it.
You think you're better than us?
I hear the podcast sounds really good in a Tesla. Now, S831 passed Wednesday in a unanimous 114-0 vote in the House after Ways and Means Committee Chairman Bruce Bannister, who's a Republican from Greenville, offered a strike and insert amendment that gutted the provisions that lawmakers said caused them the most heartburn. Now, this helped limit the debate to a few hours, and it also nixed some 180 amendments. We were about to take the scenic route, but we took the choice lane, if you will. Now, this updated bill, what does it do? I'm going to tell you right now. It makes the DOT secretary a cabinet position nominated by the governor with Senate confirmation. We've done this before. We're doing it again, okay? Back and forth. Every 10 years, we go back and forth. It also eliminates the SCDOT Commission and the Coordinating Council for Transportation and Mobility, which would be a group responsible for developing transportation plans and policy. Again, the fees for EVs, that increase would be nixed. It also implements a $15 million pothole mitigation program, so you and me can report pothole locations on state highways, and DOT will fix them within a week. It also brings the Federal National Environmental Policy Act permitting process to the state, so it streamlines permitting there. It also allows DOT to enter into public-private partnerships and the creation of fast pass lanes, which exist in other urban areas of the country, like Atlanta and the D.C. area and Charlotte. There's even more in here, too. And in fact, it requires county transportation committee members to abide by the State Ethics Act. And it also strengthens internal audits. Everyone loves auditing DOT. Now, on Thursday, the Senate voted to reject those House changes to the bill, which was sponsored by the Chamber's Transportation Committee Chairman Larry Grooms. Now, the Berkeley Republican, as well as Dorchester Republican Senator Sean Bennett and Richland Democratic Senator Overture Walker were named as Senate conferees, so there will be a conference committee soon, and they will hash out the differences between those two versions of the bill. Speaking of hash, the Senate also refused to concur with the House-made changes to the Consumable Hemp THC Drink Bill H. 3924. Now, this bill is multifaceted right now. It's been amended so it can be almost anything when it comes to regulation among these three, including it could be a full ban. It could be one that restricts current sales and consumption to those above 21. Or it could be that more regulated framework that we've been talking about, which would make 5 milligram and 10 milligram THC drinks as well as gummies regulated similar to alcohol and behind the counter because it's safer. The counter. Now, Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey, York Republican Senator Michael Johnson, and Calhoun Democratic Senator Russell Ott will be the Senate's negotiators. We'll see who the House puts up for both of those bills. That will come next week. And again, hash it out. The Senate further amended and passed H. 4270, which is a bill sponsored by Representative Carla Schuessler out of Horry County, which allows for the removal of certain eviction records and filings in a certain time frame. Really trying to help folks who have evictions on their records for more than a couple years have those removed so you can then get into some better housing. We know that's really a big restriction when it comes to housing in the state. Also, South Carolina legislative leaders say as of now, there's still no talks or plans to go ahead with any mid-decade congressional, state house, any kind of redistricting, even after the U.S. Supreme Court's Wednesday ruling over a section of the Civil Rights Era Voting Rights Act. That's right. In a 6-3 ruling, the High Court struck down a majority black congressional district in Louisiana, ruling that the district was a, quote, unconstitutional racial gerrymander, quote. And that court observers and critics say could further worsen minority representation in Congress and across government. Now, we spoke with Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey about this ruling and more during State House Today on Thursday and about what he wants to see moving through in the final 2 weeks. Here he is talking with me and Mayan Schechter.
You know, most of the big things that we had identified at the beginning of session that we wanted to accomplish, we've gotten out of the Senate. There's been one issue dealing with regulatory reform that we still got to get done. But otherwise, the big issues that we wanted to tackle have gotten out. Some of those things, most of those things have not yet gone to the governor's desk. So we're still working with the House to try to get some movement on those. But, you know, as Gavin mentioned, we've got a massive calendar right now. When I was counting on Tuesday morning, I was looking at like 75 bills that were going to be up on the uncontested side for this week. And as you know, last night we were in session until after 8 o'clock, which is not normal for us. So we've got a lot to do, still got a lot more to get through. And I think really what we need to do is just kind of keep working our way systematically through the calendar, try to knock those things out.
One of the top priorities that y'all did at the beginning of the year was the DUI reform bill sponsored by Senator Tom Davis. That has now made its way to the House floor, but we expect a pretty lengthy debate over that legislation. What have the conversations been like as far as what that bill will actually become law this year?
Yeah, well, first off, I would say that would probably be the number one priority. We really have to strengthen the DUI laws. We've had some behind-the-scenes conversations with the House. I mean, I know they've got some challenges over there. But it's nothing that's unexpected. I mean, we expected that the defense attorneys were going to rise up at some point. So that's what they're dealing with. But I mean, they'll work their way through that. It'll be something different than what we passed. We'll go to a conference committee and we'll work it out. But again, you know, what I've impressed upon House leadership is please don't send this the last week, because if May 14th is our deadline date, that one's probably going to take a few days to kind of work through some of those issues. So hopefully they can get that up for debate today. Maybe if they can get it passed early next week, then that'll give us time to work through some of those issues. But that is a top priority. We need to deal with DUI.
Yesterday, y'all non-concurred on the consumable hemp THC drink bill. That will go to a conference committee. Obviously, the House made some significant changes, kind of unwound exactly what the Senate did. How confident are you feeling that there may actually be some regulatory measures passed this year?
I mean, I still feel pretty good about that. I mean, this is a tough issue. It's a tough issue, as you've seen play out in the debates in the House and in the Senate, that there's a sizable group who thinks that this didn't go far, that we didn't go far enough. There's a sizable group who think that we went too far. But neither one of those groups has a majority. So it was very difficult to try to get a coalition together to come up with a regulatory scheme. That's how we came up with what we did. It certainly was not perfect. And they had some similar problems play out in the House debate where the representatives are just we're in different positions. So you got to try to figure out how to do it. But the one thing that unites everybody, I think, is that they don't like the current system. They don't want to just leave it open-ended for everybody. They don't like 14-year-olds being able to buy THC drinks in Circle K. And so there's a lot of regulation that needs to happen if we're going to allow it. The votes aren't there to ban it. So I think we need to regulate it. And my hope is that a conference committee will begin meeting even as early as next week to try to work through some of those things so we can get something worked out.
And then, Senator, we saw the U.S. Supreme Court on that ruling dealing with the maps in Louisiana, congressional district maps. It's a 6-3 ruling. We've obviously been to the Supreme Court, too, for our maps in the state. But, of course, this has renewed calls for people wanting to redistrict mid-cycle redistricting. Obviously, the primary is 40 days away. What are your thoughts on these calls to redistrict South Carolina?
Yeah, it's gotten even more intense after Virginia's election last week as well. I will say, my position on this hasn't changed, and that is I think we need to be careful about this because in an effort to go to 7-0, we very well could go to 5-2. Because the population in South Carolina, the breakdowns are not what a lot of people would expect it to be about how easy it is just to draw 7 congressional districts. That's not easy at all. In fact, I think you risk losing a Republican if you try to get too cute with it. The other thing I would say in response to the Supreme Court decision yesterday is South Carolina, to my knowledge, is the only state in the country that has gone to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court said our maps are not based on race, that they were based on partisanship. And so the issue that they struggled with Louisiana is different than the issue here, where they said that Louisiana's map was based on race. They said emphatically that ours was not. So we're in a different scenario there too. I think there's a lot of other nuances to this debate, and we need to realize those, but also be careful about what the consequences are.
Well, especially when you consider the fact that after the 2030 census, we're probably going to add a congressional district too. So even if you were to redistrict, the next couple of years, would it be all for naught essentially too? Because you're going to have to pretty much restart that process in 2022.
Yeah, if you look at changing the maps for 2028, you probably also going to have to change them for the next cycle thereafter. And that's a lot of work that goes into that. And there's a lot of litigation that's going to ensue because of it. In fact, if you do it in 28, that litigation is probably not going to be done before you have to redraw again. Yeah. So I think being confusing to voters is an issue too. You want people to know which congressional district they're in. Let them know which state Senate district or state House district they're in. That's important that people know who they're voting for, who their candidates are, and that there's not any more confusion than there needs to be. But there's a lot of nuance in this, and I think we need to be careful about what we do there, that we don't make things worse. I understand there are a lot of folks, especially on the right, who want to try to be more aggressive, especially in response to Virginia. I would caution us to be very careful about that because we're at 6-1. It would be much easier to be 5-2 than it would be to 7-0. And I think that's just the reality.
We also managed to snag House Speaker Murrell Smith. It was a wild Thursday. We got them both on there. Because, of course, he was walking by in the lobby. We said, hey, you want to jump on, talk about the waning days of the session, as well as why there's no sine die agreement, which is a little bit of a wonky thing, but it's typically passed by both chambers and dictates what lawmakers can talk about after sine die. If they want to come back to session for something, if they want to have meetings after session ends on sine die, you need this agreement.
I think there's a possibility to have a sine die resolution. We'll look at that next week and see whether we'll move that forward. The issue is you got to take have 2/3 vote, and there are people who want to leverage sine die for issues, and so to me it's an institutional process. It's one whether we are going to decide whether we come back or whether we're going to have the governor decide whether we come back, and I think we've historically preferred that our bodies come back together, make the decision whether we return to do our business in South Carolina. So I'm hopeful that we will get a sine die resolution.
Speaker Smith, why is it so hard? Why can't you just say we'll just take up conference committee reports? That's always the biggest hurdle, especially in the final 6 days after today.
Yeah, you forget that's an election year.
Yeah, so, I did forget.
So it's always different in election year, but that's historically what we do, and that's the right thing to do. and not have issues. If there are issues that we've had plenty of time to address those issues, and the fact that someone will want to leverage it is really not doing the body and the General Assembly good, but it's politics, and that's what we have to deal with in these years.
And y'all got that massive roads bill through yesterday too. That was a pretty big accomplishment for this session. Do you see that having any heartburn with the Senate?
Well, I'm sure the Senate may have some difference with governance issues and a few other things, but at the end of the day, we're going to appoint a conference committee. I hope we have it start working next week, and I am very hopeful that we will be able to get a bill, and this is going to be a monumental bill because this is going to be for the first time where we're going to attack congestion in our metropolitan areas, and that's also going to benefit the rural areas because if we do these public-private partnerships, the $5 billion that is slated to be spent on the Mark Clark Expressway may be done by a public-private partnership, and that money will be able to go to the rural areas and other areas of the state to improve our roads. So I hope that this is going to be enacted this year, and we'll start making progress as soon as we can.
You've got obviously a long day ahead of you, and I think some constituent things going on outside, but real quick wanted to ask, what is a top priority for you to get through both chambers of session? Obviously, y'all passed the regulations bill, and it's now in the Senate.
Yeah, I think that's my top priority right now is to get the regulations bill. We passed that early in session last year, and I think that is a bill that we all recognize is critical for continue our prosperity and success in South Carolina. We've got to get rid of all these 80,000 plus regulations, and we need to start making sure they don't live in perpetuity, but that they're approved by the General Assembly. And so I'm pleased with the progress the Senate's making, and I look forward to them sending us the bill.
Governor Henry McMaster and Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette were at the White House on Tuesday to welcome the United Kingdom's King Charles III and Queen Camilla. House Speaker Murrell Smith and his wife Macaulay were also present, and we asked Speaker Smith about his time there on State House Today.
And I tell you, it was an honor. It was a special time for me, but it was a really special time for my wife, who is a monarchist, and she loves the history of monarch. And I could see her taking pictures through every crack and crevice you could get of Queen Camilla and King Charles. So she enjoyed it much more than I did. So I made her happy, and happy wife, happy life.
And 6 more days after today, so even more happiness.
That's right.
As you can tell, Murrell did not get a British accent, keeping it Sumter through and through. Speaking of Washington, the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee advanced Shira Clark's nomination to be a U.S. District Court judge for the District of South Carolina. That happened this week by a vote of 15-7. Clark was a staffer on several congressional committees, worked at Nelson Mullins in Greenville, and became an assistant U.S. attorney for the District of South Carolina in 2021. She will replace retired Judge Robert Brian Harwell if confirmed by the full Senate, which is forthcoming. Well, let's move to the campaign trail. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette was at the center of controversy this week, somewhere where she's typically not, when students at the historically black university, South Carolina State University in Orangeburg, took to protesting on campus against Evette's planned commencement address on May 8th. An online petition against her invitation, which the university has not formally announced, again for May 8th, grew to more than 5,300 signatures by Wednesday morning. It said in part that throughout our history, we have been at the forefront of advocating for social justice, equality, and education that truly represents and supports our community. Inviting a speaker whose actions and policies do not resonate with the ethos of our university undermines this legacy. That was the petition. Evette's response? Through her campaign and social media channels, she referred to the student protests as, quote, woke mobs, quote, and she said they were, quote, coming after me for being a champion of eliminating radical DEI scams on college campuses, quote. We caught up with her Thursday after late Wednesday, South Carolina State University leadership rescinded its invitation to her out of an abundance of caution for security reasons.
A speech that I would deliver about hard work, about being the best you could be, about having big dreams, and about the importance of family as a support would be a bad thing. That is inherently wrong, and it's going to stop. Because when I'm the next governor of South Carolina, I will make sure that any state funds that go to school allow all kinds of perspectives to be talked about. And nobody will ever be disinvited because of safety concerns. Since when is it okay for groups to come together and then to cite security concerns to have violence play a part in silencing voices. That is not what our country is about.
I also asked Evan about whether she regretted using the word mobs since it can have negative connotations.
I mean, I saw the pictures. That to me is what it appeared to be. It was a mob of people. We see that happening all over our country. Many times it's not even students. Like, who made up all of that? Was it all students? Was it other people brought in? I mean, let's start calling things for what they are instead of pretending.
And a handful of Republican House legislators on Thursday sent a letter to Ways and Means Chairman Bruce Bannister calling on the chamber to strike money set aside for South Carolina State University in the budget that will be debated by the House next week, saying, quote, there is no reason why state tax dollars should continue to fund a state institution where not all South Carolinians are welcome. If the Lieutenant Governor of South Carolina is unwelcome due to different political ideologies and an inability to keep her safe, it is time to defund and reevaluate, quote. 8-Ball says not likely, but we get it. Now, several opponents attacked Evitt, including Congresswoman Nancy Mace, who said Evitt picked a fight with college kids. And then also we heard from Attorney General Alan Wilson saying that Evitt's former company that did payroll and HR work, that she actually supported DEI. Here's Evitt.
We did payroll. We did HR. Our whole business model was to keep our clients out of trouble, not to actually pull them into any kind of ideology, which is what's happening in our college campuses.
It's also worth noting that Nancy Mace has picked plenty of fights over the years, including cursing out a 19-year-old constituent on video last April after he asked her about doing town halls while they were both shopping in a Mount Pleasant Ulta store. On Thursday, speaking of the campaign trail, former Congressman and Governor Mark Sanford ended his first congressional district comeback bid. Wow, yeah, I know. And in the same sentence, announced that he's launching a nonprofit group focused on confronting the country's rising debt, persistent deficits, and unsustainable government spending. Sanford said in a statement, quote, after a lot of thought, I have concluded that the most effective way I can contribute right now is not by seeking office, but by helping build a broader movement focused on the country's financial future. The trajectory of debt and deficits isn't a Republican problem or a Democrat problem. It's an American problem. And it's one that demands sustained grassroots pressure for change to occur, quote. A name for that group is Forthcoming.
Interesting.
It's not called Forthcoming.
Sure.
Guys, why are you making this hard?
All right.
But speaking of the debt, our national debt surpassed the country's GDP for the first time since World War II. So we're doing it. It's cool. Welcome to the Wind Down section, our little break from the news. We're glad you're here, along with A.T. Share, our lead podcast producer.
Hello, Gavin.
Hey.
How are you doing, huh?
I'm doing so much better.
Yeah.
I'm doing so good.
You had a lot of your creakiest parts of your body inspected by professionals, yes?
It continues.
Okay.
They continue to inspect the creaky parts. Ever since I had my foot situation in February, I was in the boot because I broke a little piece of my foot.
Compensation.
For 6 weeks, I was in a boot. Thank God I had to have surgery, but during that time, I was compensating more with my left leg.
Mm-hmm. Classic. This is classic, folks. This is classic.
And then
Gavin,
I was like, oh, God, so you're just doing this thing. And also, but I was telling you, my knee was hurting before.
It was, yeah.
And
this is
exacerbated it.
Yes.
And then so we got out of the boot. I was talking to my orthopedist because you're almost 40.
Yeah, I'm talking to my ortho.
So, my ortho. I mean, I love Midland's Orthopedics. I mean, I think, what's that disorder where like you become obsessed with like being sick? It's a hypochondriac.
Yeah,
maybe?
hypochondriac. Yeah.
But then there's like some other disorder. But I'm pretty much there because I'm like, oh, I missed
everything
so much.
something. Yeah.
Now my knee
Your
hoods.
friends.
Now my knee hoods.
My knee hood. Yeah.
But it truly did. So I went in and I'm like, fine, let's just do it. I know the people. I know I can get in and out. And again, like I've talked about, like my brothers have had knee pains too. My brother Nick had his meniscus repaired, and I'm like, ugh! Like I didn't play 8 years of lacrosse. That can't be me. It can't be me.
Not me.
So we get the X-ray. X-ray looks good. I have no arthritis. Everything's in perfect alignment, which I'm like.
I could have told you that. Okay,
I mean, I have
that's not what I'm asking
but,
you.
I'll take a compliment. Then so it's like, okay, next step, MRI, of course. It gets covered. That's great.
Mr. I.
I pop in there. It's clanking away for 30 minutes. I'm having a great time.
Bunch.
I'm on the outside of the tube. I was on the inside. I've never gotten an MRI. I was kind of just checking things off here.
Mm-hmm.
And then they tell me I had an MCL strain.
Tiny tear.
And then a tiny tiny meniscus tear, too tiny for them to like really bother. It wouldn't be worth the time operating on.
TTMT, tiny.
So they
tiny
shot
meniscus
me
tear.
up with some corticosteroid.
Yeah.
Which.
Now I'm feeling pretty good.
But now you're telling me,
Why?
now you're telling me that I'm in the professional baseballer like cycle where, oh yeah, I just need the other shot. I need a shot so I can pitch today, coach.
So
like,
Gavin's telling us he's juicing, folks.
I'm juicing.
He's juicing, not like his juicer. Okay.
no, God, I need to bust that back out. Who's that time?
You got to bust that out.
I know. So I'm thinking things are gonna be okay. Obviously, the strain, I just probably need to ice it. I was not really icing. I know you've proselytized the power of icing.
Correct. I'm a ice
It
evangelist.
gets too cold.
Yeah, it gets really cold.
It's really cold.
It's sad. You get a little sad when the cold doesn't affect you, and you're like, wow, I've truly like numbed my ability to feel the pain.
Now you're supposed to put a little something between the ice pack and the skin, like a little a towel maybe, or a little something thin. But you just go straight up
at this point. I mean,
just to feel alive.
I can really just handle it raw.
I think I need to get back there.
It doesn't matter one bit.
I have a good gel one that you can like mold. So
yeah, the gel ones are only okay a little bit. You got to get the higher end ones. They're good.
Yeah, they don't stay as cold as long.
I got a new one for my old body from carrying BBDD, Big B Dominic. He's too large and he's like hurting my shoulder joint.
Oh man!
So I got one that's an ice pack shaped like a shoulder. It's good.
You want a shot?
Can
I get you a shot?
I wish. It hurts. It like clicks. Rena's making me hold her hand when I'm driving behind me. You know what I mean?
That's a bad habit to
and
fall into.
Then I have to carry a 25-pound baby. I mean, Rena just got her 2-month. She's only 26 pounds. 2 years. She's only 26 pounds. Okay. She's like bottom third in weight for children her age. She's in the 90s in height, bottom third.
She's going to be skinty.
Yeah. And Dominic is like 17 pounds at 3 months.
Oh my God.
So he's like 3 months away from catching her at this rate. Yeah. It's awful.
What about his length?
His length is 100%.
I'm terrified of this child already.
He's huge.
I don't think I've met him yet.
Yeah, he's very
big.
come
around.
He's chill.
You
He
kind of
chills
wait
out.
for like the first couple months until you bring him around, right?
Yeah, I mean, once he gets the whooping cough shot, then I'm more like, hey, check this thing out. You know what I mean?
Speaking of babies, Allie and Jamie.
Yo, shout out Allie and Jamie.
Who met on this podcast. You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. We're getting no residuals on this.
They just had their little baby, William Dixon Robertson Lovegrove.
There you go. You got to give him 4 names.
Yes.
Good.
And I swear to God, I'm sometimes everyone's like, oh, look how that baby looks like her father. I'm like, I see it a little bit,
It's
of
hard
you
to
guys.
tell.
With this baby, I said, that is baby Jamie Lovegrove.
That's a
right there.
Lovegrove.
I don't care how many names you have it. That kid's Jamie.
It changes. It changes. It changes a lot.
Jamie said the kid has more hair than he does.
Well,
I love it. We love it, Jamie. Don't worry about it. Listen to the haters, Jamie. You're a great guy.
Yeah, well, good luck with the kid. Good luck with his first few weeks.
And then we got Mama Mayan Schechter.
Yeah,
2 months out.
She's coming up.
Going to her baby shower on Sunday. I'm going to be the only man there. That's okay.
Caitlin will be there.
That's okay.
Caitlin will be there.
Well, I'm the only man.
Yeah, but Caitlin,
I look for it. I can talk to your wife. She avoids me. She avoids me.
You should honestly text her and tell her to bring Dom. That'd be great for me if you could tell her to bring Dominic.
Isn't that kind of like proposing at someone's wedding?
Yeah, you wearing white to the wedding.
Oh, my baby. Yeah, no, I just figured I'd bring it. This is what they look like when you get one.
If you had any questions, here you go. Yeah. No. So yeah, I will be home alone with the 2 children. So
I love that.
Feel free to come over after, Gavin, and see the kids.
Hello, kids. I'm like smoking on the children.
Yeah, smoking their face.
Look how skinny Rena is.
You want to be even skinnier? Smoke some of these, babe. Yeah. Anyway, Gavin.
We're not advocating any of that.
Of course
I know they're trying to make
not.
it sound like it's cool, like it's back. It's not, guys. I can tell you after all my medical ailments, I'm all about preserving myself. I'm just.
You're learning to breathe now, too. Yep. There you go. He's working on his diaphragm, folks. These podcasts are going to sound even better when this guy learns how to take more than a half breath. Anyway, Gavin, say goodbye.
Give us a shout, guys. Leave us a message at 803-563-7169. Talk about babies. We're in our baby era. I'm not.
I mean, by
I'm in my-
osmosis, you are.
Big uncle era.
You don't want to be an unk right now. I know that from the teen slang
Yes.
What When episode, okay?
Oof. Does that mean uncool?
Yeah, it means washed up.
Ooh.
We're not unk, okay? We're still virile, vital humans. But by osmosis, you are in your baby era. You're never going to have to deal with babies more than my 2 babies and this in relation to this podcast.
They're coming. They're coming for us, and that baby's going to take this podcast away from me. Don't let her do it. 803-563-7169. Also, give us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from. We love those as well. And you can stay up to date with the latest news on SCETV.org and SouthCarolinaPublicRadio.org. And don't forget to support your local newspapers. The South Carolina Lede is a production of South Carolina Public Radio. Our producer is A.T. Shire. Amy Crouch is our supervising producer. Sean Birch is our executive producer. This podcast is produced with support from PRX and is made possible in part by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, as well as listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina. For the South Carolina Lede, I'm Gavin Jackson. Be well, South Carolina.
And so, like, you can't continually get these
I know. I feel like I'm a
shots.
pro baseball player.
Just give me the shot.
I need a pitch.
Just give me the shot.